I want to welcome you to the official part 1 to What If Deku Had Ate the Gum Gum Fruit. Now, I don't know how much of you watch anime, but I really like One Piece. Not gonna cap, not gonna nothing. It's dope, it's weird, but the thing I don't get is, how come devil fruits are so rare, but everybody and their mom ate one? Like, what? Like, it's almost a requirement. It's either that you're an incredibly superhuman person to be like an admiral in the Marines, or you have a devil fruit. I think Garp is like the one exception for that, but even then, it's like he's on par, and we're not 100% sure that he hasn't eaten the devil fruit. Maybe it augmented his physical abilities. Maybe he's incredibly strong for a human, but the armament hockey helps him, We don't know. It's up to speculation. But this is not One Piece Corner. Comment down below if you'd like to see something like that. Could happen, could not. But let's get started with part 1 to What If Deku Had Ate the Gum Gum Fruit. Okay, so we start off on a warm, sandy beach on a nice day. Deku, along with his mom and dad, were sitting on the beach, just chilling, relaxing, thinking about the long, incredibly fun day they had. In the beginning of the day, they came around midday, had a lunch, and they had some fun. They were feeling pretty good. Then, Deku decided that, let's go to the beach, Mom and Dad. And they were like, okay. So, they took Deku to the beach. And there, Deku decided to go exploring. And along the coastline, he saw a particularly odd purple fruit. And there was another one next to it, but it was like orange. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's the Murmur no Mi. No, I'm not going to make him have that power. Comment down below if you'd like to see something of a similar nature. Deku keeps the odd fruits and he puts them in his mom's bag. When they get home, he takes the fruits and he puts them in the fridge. He at that point, he didn't care about fruits because he knew the next day he had a test to see if he had a quirk. But that same day, his dad had to go back to work. So, after he got the disappointing news that he'd never be able to manifest a quirk, he sat there, crying about the fact that he can never be someone who could help others with a smile on his face. He thought about becoming a police officer, but it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same as as doing the good things that a hero could do, smiling and never worrying. Throughout his life, he had just given up on the fact that he was going to be a hero. Throughout middle school, he honestly believed that he was just going to become a cop, settle down, and live a sad, lonely life in a loveless marriage, never knowing the joys and thrills of saving others with a smile. As he ate that purple fruit in his room by himself, his mother came in to comfort him, and when she hugged him, as she hugged and lifted him up into the air, his top half stretched, and she dropped him, not on purpose, not out of fear, but just thanking the stars because her son had a quirk. She burst into tears on the spot, and Deku was smiling. At least he had a quirk, he thought to himself. I have this ability and I will use it in the defense of others. I will be a hero. That's my promise. And from that day on, just hear that. I'm about to go so deep. When Luffy is exactly as how Luffy did ever since that day, he's been training. Stealing his dad's weights from his mom and dad's room, working out, building his muscles. He was running. When Kachan tried to bully him at school, he actually tried to defend himself. And by the time he was ready to leave middle school, he had gained a reputation. They called him Izuku the Terminator, because anyone who tried to step to him was going to get terminated. Kachan wasn't scared of him, though. Everyone in that whole school looked at Kachan like he was the craziest man in the world. But Kachan knew. He knew that Deku, though his muscles were far superior to those of an average man, his power came with a drawback. It's called elastic rebound. When you pull something rubber, it strives to go back to its ordinary state. So, in every fight, when an opponent came to Deku, he had to take them out in one shot. So he just arches his hand back and punches them in the head or something, knocking them down. He keeps stretching his hand, and the crowd thinks it's like, oh, him flexing, but actually he's waiting for everybody to leave, and then he gets ready for the impact. It's rebound. It's the rebound. His hand comes shooting back at him like a rocket, sending him slamming back into the school wall. He has had so many head wounds that the nurses gave him their own name. The danger zone. It seemed that anyone and anything caught in the field of this guy was gonna get hurt, and hurt bad, because he had actually hit the back of his head so many times that he cracked his skull. Impressive, but still, he cracked his skull. Anyway, every day he kept training until one day he had stayed back after school after getting into a fight with another kid. Everybody saw him as this cool, rebellious bad boy, but in actuality, he secretly collected notes for being a pro hero in the future. He had even learned to do some cool abilities. What nobody, not even his mom and dad knew, his dad is overseas still, is that he was an underground street fighter. Yes, he was an underground street fighter, and he was actually quite good. He was undefeated until 3 months prior to where we are right now. He faced this guy. They called him the Unit. He was this big, buff black dude. Actually, in my head, I'm picturing my grandpa. He's like real tall, like 6'7" or 6'8". I don't know, something around that. But he's tall and skinny. So picture like someone 6'7", 6'8", but huge, medium, buff. Deku knew that he was gonna have to go all out, so he ran at this guy. And then he jumped. The guy was just standing there like a brick wall, ready to take anything that Deku had. He flipped over his head, and he knew what he was doing. He swung his hand behind him and hit him in the back of the stomach. Swung his other hand and one of his hands hit him in the head and the other hit him in the stomach. He felt that a little bit. But what Deku wasn't praying for was his signature move, the Tornado of Pain. So, now using with his extended arms, he swung in a tornado formation, crashing into the Unit, causing him some slight discomfort. And then he let his fist go into the edge of the cage, and the full rubbery force. He knew that this was in school. He was not gonna win against opponents in some stupid one-punch move. So he jumps behind his opponents and fights from behind. Then once he's attacked their bodies, he will let the attack go on purpose to, of course, send himself launching at them. He calls this the final arrow, because when he's crashing back, he puts his hands to his side and he makes sure to aim for their stomach, and then he tries to spin in the air. It's like a drilling into the person's stomach, causing them severe amounts of pain. My head is just full with so many things, and I can see this action scene and it looks so dope. But anyway, the Unit is just like Sorry, kid. You ain't taking me down that easy. This man's back was black and bruised. I mean, black and blue, but it was bruised everywhere. Deku had done more opponent damage to that one guy than all of his opponents combined. So the guy said he wasn't gonna go back easy on him. He had a muscle quirk. So every time he took an impact from something, for example, a hammer, the skin, the tissue by the impact point would, but you have to know where the opponent's hitting. That's why he made more of the tissue on his face, his stomach, his whole body. He just never thought that the guy was going to aim for his back because he had his back turned. They were back to back. So when he launched himself back like that, he damaged his back pretty bad. But the unit just slammed Deku in the stomach, bouncing him against the cage, kicking him down. Deku was a bloodied puddle on the floor, and the unit was about to say, give up. Because this kid is charismatic and he doesn't want to kill someone this in the prime of his career so young. But he slammed his fist into his gut one more time, lifted him up by his neck, and slammed him threw him against the cage. No, he got up. I'm sick and I'm tired of people like you pushing me around. And in that moment, he didn't think of the unit anymore. He pictured his arch nemesis, the one who caused him so much pain throughout his entire life, Katsuki Bakugo. And in a single moment, he slammed his fists on the ground and he stretched his legs up, shooting him into the air. And then, jumping from the top of the cage, the unit was about to prepare his body for whatever. And then he expanded himself, kind of like how Luffy jumped up out of the bucket and sprang his arms and legs out like a boss, like that. But it was like an attack. He uppercutted the guy in the face. But what they didn't notice was this man's skin was red, just like your second. It's right here. And there was red smoke coming off of him. His blood was boiling because of the amount of anger he felt. No, it's not the Mara no me. I actually have something going for that, but not right now. Anyway, so he takes his fist and he starts barraging him. It's just punch after punch. Picture Luffy's just gavel punching people. Star Platinum, Crazy Diamond, Gold Experience from JoJo, and they're like order. And he's just punching. And this guy, his muscle tissue cannot regrow as quick as he's punching. So for the first time in his life, he's ready to accept the defeat. And then Deku jumped from the top of the cage. And then he did something incredibly dangerous, but also kind of stupid on his part. He called it the Razor's Edge. He span in like a circle, a blade formation, slicing into the skin. Because he's moving so fast that his rubbery skin has caught on fire. And he's cutting into the guy with his flaming hands. So the unit falls down. No. 1, 2. He's gone. He's not dead, obviously. He's unconscious. Deku feels pretty good about himself and walks away with a cool $1,000. Luckily, most of his injuries weren't lucky. Most of his injuries were just bodily injuries. They'd heal in time. There was a cut under his. There was a cut under his lip. It was like a frown almost. So he had to put a bandage on underneath his mouth, right? So he keeps training, and then one day he's coming home from he stayed back again he stayed back with the nurses for like the zillionth time, just them bandaging up his shoulder. He broke it. His mom is completely aware about his his abilities, and she knows that super healing is one of the perks of having your son be a rubber person. So she doesn't care. She still gets worried about him getting in constant fights, but it doesn't affect his grades, his attendance, or anything. So, once again, she's okay with it. Well, she feels she's scared for him, but she's accepted of it. So, now, he's walking home from school, and then he sees a crowd of people. He's curious about what's going on, so he makes his way to the front of the crowd, and he sees Katsuki being a green sludgy person slamming itself into his Bakugo's mouth. He didn't like the guy, but he didn't deserve to die. And even though he was bullied and tortured by this guy, he knew this is what a hero did. So he took off his school jacket and ripped the sleeve off, tying the sleeve around his mouth so that no one would know who he was. And then he jumped up off the thing, trying his hardest to activate his rage mode, as he called it. And then he just looked at Bakugo, and everything clicked. All the bad things he did, all the ways that he tortured him, everything. And Deku, the rage mode was active, and he was pissed. He charged directly at the sludge monster and starts punching it. But because of his blood boiling, his rubber thin skin once again starts to catch on fire. He's done this 2 times, and he's done this twice in the last 2 days. This is dangerous. You have about 1.7 gallons of blood in your body. If half of that is evaporated, he might be on bed rest for days. He has to think about his future. But he doesn't care in that moment. He just punches. The heated punches are actually drawing him away from Bakugo, which gives the pros chance to shoot him off of him. But some is still inside Bakugo. And as it's about to as a little smudge was about to get to Bakugo, Deku just slammed his fist on the ground. And everyone just looks surprised because Deku forgot the most basic thing. He had his shirt sleeve as a mask, and nobody could see his mouth, but he was wearing a student ID. So everybody knows where the hero who saved the student's life goes to school. So everybody praises Deku for his heroism, but Kachan, he's still furious with Deku. But there's a sort of respect between them because Kachan's never seen that level of power from him before. He knows that he could one-shot any kid in their school, but he never thought that his pathetic little rubber friend would be that powerful. So, on the way home, he sees All Might, and he takes out his hero analysis book for the future, and he's about to run up to get to him when All Might stops him, and he's like, "You, Izuku Midoriya." And he's like, "Yes, you are an incredible hero." And I was just like, "No, I was doing what anyone would do." And then he's like, "No, I'm going to give you something. Something that's been passed along to me and will be passed on from you to someone else. I'm going to give you a power called One for All." And Izuku is surprised because he never in his wildest dreams imagined being capable of being offered something of such a high magnitude and by All Might of all people. So he accepted. Who wouldn't, right? But anyway, he accepted the offer for the power. And after he ate the hair, it was a hectic 8 months. He noticed that quirk was applied on top of his quirk. When All Might and him practiced sparring a bit more often, because he didn't have to rely on One for All. He had his own quirk that he was accustomed to. But with One for All, he had no drawbacks. He didn't need to go crazy in the gym. He didn't need to activate rage mode. He could just duel All Might for a good 5 minutes before All Might overpowered him. He started adapting this power and trying to use it. His style is different, completely different from All Might's. He realizes that, oh look, my power is stretching, and All Might's is strength. I cannot be like him. So he develops a new thing. He calls it Stretch Fu. It's like his version of martial arts. So he tries to overpower an opponent with raw strength, doubled thanks to All for One, and the rebound has been taken off. So I don't have to keep talking about how, oh, he got slammed into a wall. I mean, he could still slam himself into an opponent, but it'd still be of his own accord. Anyway, so now Deku can activate Gear Second, or Rage Mode as he calls it, and he can duel with All Might for a good 5 minutes. But he also doesn't forget about his Be Alt and Alt Kamikaze attack, and it's actually okay. Before, its drawback was simple. He could not walk properly. Well, not walk. More like he was out of breath and he could barely function correctly. Okay, so now Deku has gotten One for All. And basically, a lot of his previous limits were broken. Now, all he has to do is prepare for the entrance exam. He's been studying, and he hasn't... As I was saying with Stretch Fu, I'm sorry. My recording just stopped, and I completely lost my place, but if you've heard this before, sorry. But as I was saying with Stretch Fu, he tries to overpower an opponent first, but when that doesn't work, he uses a combination of instead of going the brute force way. No. Let me say this. He doesn't use brute force. He actually uses his own body as a weapon. Like, for instance, for a particularly strong opponent who uses their arms, he'd wrap his lower half of his body around them, stretching his legs around and around and around, keeping them still in place. And because he's keeping them completely still in place, he can now stretch their torso and is gonna be pretty much thing. He can literally just punch them in the face. But he also okay. So I'm just gonna skip all of this extra stuff and go straight to the exam. The day of the entrance exam, he gets a good grade on the final, 95. Second in the class, right after Todoroki. Todoroki got 100. Well, Todoroki got it on recommendation, so technically he didn't take the test, so we don't have to worry about that. So instead, he places first. In the practical exams, he's doing pretty nicely for himself as well. He secured a place in second place, even though he doesn't know that. Him and Bakugo are separated once more because they could use this, because they know of their history and they know that Bakugo could use this as a moment where there's no adult figures around, no one to tell him what to do, and he could easily try to fight Deku. Izuku's power has been clearly labeled by them. No, not Kachan's powers have been clearly labeled by them, but Izuku's a wild card. He had actually only signed up for the entrance exams 3 weeks before the exams were actually going to be hosted. So people didn't have time to go an extensive background check as of with Bakugo. So he's in second place, and he's looking around for some more robots to crush. He actually just literally needs to stretch his hand back, punch them, stretch his leg back, kick them. And across the way, he spots someone who he did not expect to see. Actually, it was the girl who had talked to him in the lobby before the test. She was really nice to him and wished him luck, and she might have been crushed by a robot. So Deku bites his finger, jumps into the air, and blows into it. But instead of inflating his bones, he only inflated his muscles. So his hands So the air goes through his whole body, and he basically becomes like Luffy and Gear 4th, except minus the hockey. So, okay, you see the picture on the screen? Let's just use this. He channels into a power that he did not expect. Green lightning and red lightning start soaring across his body. It's a mixture. The red is coming from like this thing because this lightning is going through his whole body. It's his blood. It's in his veins. So he jumps up, not because he jumps up, scared out of his mind. Not because he might die, the girl might die. Not because he might get hurt, because the girl might die. And he yanks his hand back, and then he just yells, "Super Fist Cannon!" He never actually makes impact with the robot, believe it or not. Instead, what he actually did there, he used One for All. I keep thinking that I'm going to say All for One, and it's so annoying. So he uses One for All, and he sends a pressure wave through the robot. Now, this does not break his bones, because his bones, like his skin, like his organs, are rubber. Only like things that can pierce his skin can kill him, such as with Luffy. So, it doesn't break his arm. All it does is sprain his wrist. But the extreme pressure does combat another thing. All of the air he blew into himself, it's slowly being deflated, and he's gonna fall to his death. He's gonna be a rubber pancake on the thing. So, in a last-ditch effort, the girl, Deku, knew that he couldn't inflate himself, and with the amount of inflation that he had, he wasn't gonna make it. So the girl slapped him in the air as he's falling, and with the bounciness and the lessened gravity, he landed safely on the ground. Well, a few feet away from the ground before the girl released it and puked on the ground. He then bounced right back to his old self, and he gave her the widest smile ever and said, "Hi, my name's Izuku, but my enemies call me the Terminator. But I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to be someone new. So how about you call me Deku? That's a good name. But doesn't that mean loser? Well, I don't care what it means. I'm changing the meaning." And then she smiles at him. She's like, "Well, that suits you, Deku." And then he's just like, "Well, thank you. What's your name?" And she's like, Ochako Uraraka. That's such a pretty name, Ochako. And she's like, "Thank you." So, Deku is now pretty OP. So, believe it or not, after All Might and him train his powers, he still has no idea what to do with them. He's confused about what happened with the robot. The robot's face got bashed in even though he didn't touch it. So he asked All Might about it, and he said, "I was there, I was watching. It seemed like it was a power shockwave. It's like the power in One for All is so strong in you that you shot a pressure wave of pure strength." But then he asked him, "But All Might, what was that thing that encased me?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" "There was green lightning, and some of it was red. But I saw something else. It was black, and it was on my hand. But it didn't hurt. It made me feel powerful." Yes, I'm introducing hockey into the storyline. I don't care if you yell at me in the comment section. Fight me! I'm kidding. I love you guys. But seriously, I'm adding hockey. And only he has awakened it because, believe it or not, his dad ate a devil fruit. But what he doesn't know is that the day he found that Mara no Mi, his dad died. Remember at the beach, I said his dad was there? His dad was there on a tablet. And he was pretending to enjoy a good day at the beach with them while he was actually in the US working on a computer. So, he wanted to still be connected to his family. But what? So, after he found the fruits and he asked his mom to go home so he could sleep for his big day the next day, his dad was shot and killed. And because Japan is like a good 15 hours away from the US, the Miramar no Mi appeared directly in the ocean. And it was just coincidence that it floated up to Deku. So, now that you know all that, question is, what's gonna happen here? Is Deku gonna find out? Is he gonna eat the fruit? Well, come back for more of what if Deku ate the gum gum fruit. Bye guys! And are you?